Good morning, everyone. We are coming to you live via Facebook streaming, via YouTube streaming, and also via Skype group. Each one of you is welcome to this live streaming. First of all, blessings for Ramzan. There is always a confusion or controversy about the first day of Ramzan. It is said by the masters and Sheikh Nazim that whichever country you live in, follow the moon sighting there. Moon sighting depends on many factors, the weather conditions, the country where you live in. So it is all the festivals that depend on moon sighting. We should follow the updates from the country that you live in. It may begin on 14th, 15th or 16th depending on the country where you live in. Mind is clatter. Mind means noise. Mind means accumulation of thoughts. The most important explanation of the mind comes from Adi Shankar through his composition Nirvana Shatkam. Nirvana Shatkam. Nirvana means salvation, moksha or atma. Shatkam means a composition of 6 stanzas. It is important, before we know anything, we must know about the person who wrote it and the circumstances under which it emerged. Adi Shankar, he was 8 years of age. He was living, that was the 3rd century. What were the conditions at that time? He lived in the southernmost tip of India, Kerala. From there, Himalayan mountains is the other extreme northern side of the country. And the means of transport that time were scanty. 8 years of age, he has already taken renunciation, wearing the garb of a monk, and he is found. That is all that we know. How he reached there, nobody knows. He is found wandering in the Himalayan mountains in search of the master. There he met a sage. Govindpad Acharya was his name. He asked Shankar, "Who are you?" In response to that question, Shankar composed this famous composition known as Nirvana Shatkam or Atma Shatkam, composition of 6 stanzas. Now, when someone asks, "Who are you?" you will say your name. If you are a doctor, "My name is Dr. So-and-so. I am this, I am that." We will talk about external achievements. I am a great photographer. I am this and that. But the doctor is a qualification, not your name. And I ask, "Who are you?" means in response to that you're supposed to give a name. So Adi Shankar says, he composed this famous composition, Mano Buddhi Ahankar Chittani Naham. Man, mind, buddhi, intellect, chit, memory or storehouse of the memory. I am none of these. Man, buddhi, ahankar, the ego sense. I am neither. He starts with negation. I am neither the mind nor the ego sense, nor the intellect, nor the storehouse of the memory. What happens? These are the four. Firstly, the place where all the activities are taking place, that is mind. Buddhi is intellect. Either you are operating through the intellect or through the ego sense or through the storehouse of the memory. Whenever we are interacting in the outer world, we always interact out of our memory. You are meeting a person and you had a bad experience with him, the memory surfaces. Or ego sense. He said, I am neither of these mano buddhi hankar chittaninaham. And the last line of each verse says, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham, my form is eternal, unborn, unmanifest. Your real form, the body comes and goes. It is ephemeral. And even just going through the whole passage, you will observe the body has undergone many transformations, many changes. In the computer technology, we call it updates. You are the updated version of your life now. You have seen, you have the memories that you were a child, you were a youth, some of the memories of those times you have stored in that. But these are changeable. There is something that never changes. Something that your being, your inner space never changes, it remains the same. Chidanand Rupa. Chid means ever blissful. Bliss is your nature, ever blissful am I. And eternal, which is unborn, simply manifests, simply manifests through the ephemeral body, mind, intellect realm. Nothing else. And that form is eternal, unborn, unmanifest, is known as Shiv, eternal. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. Shiv am I. I am unborn, unmanifest Shiv. Then he says that there are the different airs that you breathe in, and when they go to different parts of the body, they are known by different names. Just as when you want to install the electrical supply in your house or the water supply in your house, there is a main line from where the water, you are connected to the main external source of water or electricity. Then through the channels it goes through the various parts of the house, and they are also identified by different names. The bathroom tap, the light in the gallery, the light here, identified by the place where it is. In the same way, when the air that we breathe in, it manifests through different parts of the body, it is known as by that name. I am neither the pranavayu, I am neither this, I am not that, I am not a relation, I have no father, no mother, and the whole composition goes on. But the mind continues to remain a clatter, it can never remain silent. It is constantly clattering and creating the noise. It is constantly crowded with many thoughts, desires, and emotions, etc. These come together. Mind goes on dreaming ceaselessly day and night. You are dreaming with eyes closed. You are dreaming with eyes open. It can never be silent even for a single moment. This is the nature of the mind. And we have become identified with the mind. It is said, as the mind, so is the person. We think that we are our minds. And this is constantly creating a misery in us. We are miserable because we are guided by the mind, by the thoughts, by the memory, by the ego sense. The moment you come out of this memory, you cannot come out of the mind unless consciously you make an effort that I am not going to operate through the memory. You had a bad experience with someone as regards the money is concerned. The memory is there. When again a question comes of helping that person, that memory surfaces, and the ways of the world teach you, do not trust that man, he may not have changed. But the circumstances and situation is he may or may not have changed. So you can either overlook but we do not have the capacity to know that change has taken place in that person. So we want to be safe, and he said, no, I do not want to have anything interaction with that person. To hide your ignorance, that you are not capable of seeing the changes. The entire social system is guided by the memory. You had once a bad reputation with the bank. You approach the bank for any assistance. They will look at your records, and that will be the guiding factor in providing you the services in this moment. Because bank is interested in business, they see certain things. There is an improvement in your financial status, your bank accounts, and so they want to give you something, but at the same time they want to be cautious. They impose certain conditions. Yes, we will give you the facility, but these are the conditions. So in the same way, you can place a condition, but consciously try to not be guided by the memory or your ego sense. Then slowly and slowly you will be able to come out of the mind. Or maybe for certain things you are not operating through the mind, you are operating through your being. Get out of the mind and you will come back to your senses. Get out of the mind, because mind is a kind of madness. It is a marketplace that continues to create a noise. But one can get out of the mind only in two ways. Either you can fall below the mind, and falling below the mind is madness. You can be in mental asylum, but that will be totally a different kind of a situation. The other is going beyond the mind. Then you become a Buddha or a Jesus or an awakened one when you go transcend the boundaries of the mind and you come out of that narrow space. The choice is always yours to choose one. Second, obviously, is the choice of the masters that you come out of the prison of the mind. There is fear of always, you feel satisfied, contented, and happy within the prison walls of the mind. You are secure that you have taken a decision not to enter into any conversation or anything with this person. The fear is because mad people are also out of the mind, and the awakened ones are also out of the mind. But the mad one is below the mind. When we understand the brain waves, when the brain waves fall below 4, then it is a state of madness. You are below the mind. When it goes in a different, and that time you may fall asleep. If it is beyond 10, then it is a constant noise of the mind. There are mad people who are also out of the mind, but they have fallen below, and one has to rise above the mind. To come out of the mind means going beyond the mind. When you rise above the mind, silence descends, harmony comes in. You see the mind deep down in the valley. Clattering is still, but the distance between you and the mind becomes bigger and bigger. And every day it is getting bigger and bigger, and then one day it will happen that you are not listening the clatter of the mind anymore. You're not hearing the marketplace, the noise, the disturbance of the marketplace at all. That day one becomes enlightened. You are not guided by the noise of the mind, noise of the marketplace. You are in your solitary cave. Mind lives either in the past, in the memory, or the projections, which is another aspect. You have memories, there are unfulfilled desires, and you go on projecting to achieve them in some date in the future. That is projection. If you are young, then the mind lives in the past. Old man has no future. He has known the death is approaching, and he is so afraid that he cannot look into the future. A young man always looking at the future, and the old man, the older you are, you start looking into the past. He goes on reminiscing about the past, all that he has been and is no more. He enjoys those golden days. Much of it is now just an imagination because it is no more there. But he goes on imagining that in those golden days when I was young, I was used to do this and that, and a lot of people enjoy talking about that. In the first place, it has never been there much of it is just a projection, a projected invention to remain occupied. If you have lived that moment totally aware, then there is no need to remember something. You remember only that which has been left incomplete. The moment a person starts living in the past, he starts becoming old. The moment you start living in this very moment in now, you remain always youthful, young. Psychologically, that is the point where one becomes old, when you start living in the past memories, in the past. It may not coincide, however, psychologically, old age begins. Psychologically, old age begins the moment you start reminiscing, start thinking about the past, the beauties of the past, the golden era, the golden experiences, the nice days, how everything was great. You are psychologically getting older. The future is so dark and that you are afraid to look at it, and you want to remain occupied with the past, because mind cannot remain unoccupied. It must get occupied in something or the other. But that is not so with the young persons. The young person always and continues to look into the future. Death is still far away. In reality, the young person never thinks about death. It is as far away, and it is beyond the scope of the thoughts. He does not have that much insight, so he lives in the future, making castles in the air. He goes on imagining, I will do this, and I will get that, and I will be this, and tomorrow is going to happen, and if not tomorrow, then certainly one day after tomorrow it will happen. Hope, aspiration, imagination remains. The old man wastes his present moment living in the past, and young person wastes his present moment imagining about the future. Both exercises are absolutely futile. The old man skips the present moment because he cannot look forward, look ahead in the future because of the fear of death, so he continues to lament about the golden age, the old times, and all this and that. And the young person, because death is far away, he has not envisioned that, so what he does, he continues to imagine about the future. So both of them continue to miss this very moment. The old person wastes his present moment living in the past, and young person wastes his present moment living in the future. Both exercises are futile and does nothing. Live in the present moment when it comes in. How does it happen? You can take a simple example, which was many years ago, my first radio program. You have a platter in front of you full of food. Whatever it is, whether it is delicious or not delicious, but it is satiating. Only that food which is there that can satiate you. It talks about food, The past about the food or the future is not going to satiate you. Whatever food is there in front of you on the platter is going to give you energy, is going to give you satiation, whatsoever it is. But we live with the mind. How do we eat? Have you ever imagined? You continue to engage in talks. If you are alone, the inner dialogue continues. If you are with the company, then outer dialogue continues. But the dialogue, whether it is inner or outer, continues in one way or the other. You have a platter full of food in front of you. You have a morsel in your mouth. Morsel in your mouth. Unconsciously you are chewing it. And the next one, the spoon is full and it is in your hand. As soon as there is a space in the mouth, the second morsel which you are holding in your hand is to go in. And where your eyes are fixed on the platter. And mind is continuously thinking of something else. We engage in conversations which are futile. Last time when we went to the restaurant, the other one, the food there was better. Oh yes, the last time when you had made this particular vegetable that was tasting really nice. Today I don't know, something is not right. It is not tasting like that. But remember, the food that is in front of you on the platter is the one that is going to satiate you. Just taking that example, you can come back to the present moment. Come back to the present moment and you start living in the present moment. Then slowly and slowly it will become your way of life. This is the message of the Buddhas. Be in the present moment, and if you can be present to the moment, escape from all kinds of stupidities of the old people. All kind of stupidities of the mind, of the ego sense, of memory or anything. If you can be in the present moment, you transcend time. Time consists of only two events, past and future. And eternity consists only of this moment. And that is where it is said that they are shashwat, ever blissful, unborn, unmanifest. Eternity is now, always now, it is never then, and it can never be otherwise. It is this very moment. And to enter into now, that is the time, and here is the space. So, spatio-time, or now and here, is the criteria to come out of the clatter of the mind. And to enter into now and the here is to enter into God, the eternal. That's why Shankar says, Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. I am ever blissful. My form is eternal, unborn and manifest. And once this becomes your meditation, your way of life, to come more and more close to the present moment. You will be able to live in the present moment. That becomes your way of life. I am not saying that to prepare for the journey for tomorrow. If you are going somewhere, you will have to purchase the ticket ahead of time. You have to plan the trip. I am not saying not to do that. That has nothing to do with the future. What I mean is a psychological hope. My point is psychological. Psychological hope and the desire because the present seems to be unfulfilling. Therefore, you want to escape into the future. And with the hope for the fulfillment, you want to move in the future. You are traveling, you have to buy the tickets in advance in order to get the best airfares. If you have to go to a concert to get the best seat, you have to book your ticket in advance. Nothing is wrong in that. The only thing that need to be avoided is this psychologically going into the future hope and the desire because the present seems to be unfulfilling to you. Stop going into the psychological future. When I say future, I mean psychological future or psychological past. The factual future is okay. Psychological future is not. This does not create disturbances at all. The factual past too is okay. This too does not disturb your serenity at all. You have to remember your name, your address, and when you meet your father, you have to recognize him. You cannot say otherwise to him. This is factual past. Planning for the future events is the factual future. These are the factual things. They are perfectly okay. But deep inside, the past should not possess you. Neither the past nor the future should possess you, and you are entering into the past memories or the future projections because the present moment is distressing. Deep inside, the past should not possess you, or the future should not be your occupation. Relax into this very moment. I am sitting down, speaking to you. Just watch the posture. There is no uneasiness. It is a state of total relaxation that the message emerges. Relax into the moment, and then all kind of miracles are possible. The clatter of the mind is no more, and all kinds of miracles can happen. And one of the most beautiful miracles that is going to happen is silence becomes blissfulness. Silence becomes blissfulness. There is no relationship between silence and blissfulness. Indeed, they are two names of the same thing. Two names of the reality, whether you call silence or blissfulness. Silence is blissfulness. However, in dictionaries it is not so. But in actual experience, both silence and blissfulness are synonyms. But this happens only when you come out of the psychological aspects of your past or the future, and you are living in this very moment. So continue. Be aware of the psychological past or psychological future. Come out of that. The fact there is two aspects of the past, the factual past and the psychological past. Factual past is okay, psychological past is a disease. Psychological future is disease, factual projection, factual future is the way, then one day you will realize the clatter of the mind is no more. There is silence. Once there is silence, blissfulness overflows as its fragrance. Only this much for this morning. Until tomorrow, take care.